morning. You're listening to Dr. Heather Williamson, the Leadership Doc, host of Talking Leadership, and I am so glad that you are with me this morning because I have a friend of mine from years ago who is in for the Thanksgiving holiday from Costa Rica, and so I was able to grab him, got him to get up early so he could actually be here at the studio.
Very early.
And join us today. So Prince Rich, he is the CEO of Rich Technology Group, and like I said, we have known each other for years, and I'm so excited. So I just want to say welcome.
Thank you for
Welcome
having
back
me.
to the States.
Well, thank you. And it's cold, so for those of you who see me shivering, I'm adjusting to the cold once again.
Right, it's not 80 degrees and sunny here.
Not
it is
80,
sunny.
but sunny.
It is sunny, but it's going to be in the upper 50s. But it's probably 40s out there now, upper 40s, something like that. So anyway, share a little bit about what Rich Technology Group is about, and then we can talk about how you lead, and really kind of like an international company because you've got people across the world working for you. So it's totally unique from what I've had earlier, on other previous episodes.
Yep. So Rich Technology Group actually this year celebrated a 15-year anniversary this past
Congratulations.
October. Thank you. We're basically like a telecommunications, I guess you could say, consulting company. Essentially what we do is we have the #1 YouTube channel on Google that is just all educational videos on, what phone service is best for my business, what phone services are out there, who has the best customer service, what phone hardware is the best, whose prices are the most competitive, what features do certain providers have or not have. People watch those videos on our YouTube channel and then they contact us for a free consultation, and we help match them up with which provider, which we represent in the United States, makes the most sense. That's kind of what we do in a nutshell.
Right. So, and you, believe it or not, Prince, I think it's a year and a half or 2 years. I was trying to figure out when I started my YouTube channel because this man is the one who said, Heather, you need to start this. And I did it during COVID because everything kind of got slower.
Yeah.
So I had the time. But yeah, so, and my YouTube channel is doing really well, which I post these interviews on as well. So yeah, so it's been really, really interesting. And you slam it in YouTube. You do really well.
It's a unique animal. I'm a big believer that there's an audience for everybody out there on YouTube. No matter what it is that you're talking about, what niche it is you've got, what specific specialty you think you specialize in, or who you're trying to reach, that audience is out there for you. So as I like to say, there's somebody for everybody on YouTube.
So you live in Costa Rica, you run your business out of there.
Yep.
So what is it like to lead, remotely? Because I don't know if you have a few people working in Costa Rica, but you've got several.
Not in Costa Rica. I've got, so I've got one person in the United States who's our account manager. I have 3 persons in Pakistan who is our head content writer and blog writer for the website and all that stuff. So text, scripting, all that. And then our 2 head salespersons are in Pakistan as well. As well as my co-host, who I think you've seen her on the channel before.
Right.
And then our video editor who handles all of our YouTube editing is in Bangladesh. So it's a little bit of a mix between Pakistan, Costa Rica, US, Bangladesh. so it is a little bit all over the place.
In different time zones.
Oh, very different time zones.
So how do you lead a remote team like that? Well, I mean, what are the challenges?
I would say some of the biggest challenges are, let's start. Okay, so time zone is a challenge. Let's start with time zone, since you brought that one up. Time zone, I wouldn't say is the biggest challenge, but it's an interesting one because I know that for me, it's not a big deal because my time difference, so we work with US-based customers. So obviously our focus for the time is to cater to the customers. Let's start there. For me, it's not that big of a deal because the time difference between Costa Rica and the United States is not that big. It only fluctuates between 1 and 2 hours. For me, it's not that big.
Oh, it's like East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
Thing. Central. Yeah.
For my folks over in the Asian parts of the world, it's a bit different. You're talking closer to like an 8 to 10 hour difference. So I would say the biggest challenge with time zone there is like, it's like they have their work life, but they also want to have a personal life.
Right.
But they're working at night, so then they're having to sleep and make up for time during the day. So there's a bit of a struggle there with, hey, Prince, I'm working, nights, which means I have to sleep during the day, but I've got things like kids and I've got errands or a doctor's appointment or
right.
Real estate errands or whatever it is. So there's some of that struggle, which is, it's an ongoing thing, I guess you could say. It's an ongoing, you could say, just thing that has to be dealt with. So.
And so the people that have been, working remotely for you, working in other countries, how long have they been with you?
My co-host is actually coming up close to Christmas. She's actually coming up on her 2-year anniversary.
Right.
So
you're able to, I don't want to use the word lenient, but be empathetic to whatever the needs are of your staff who are working internationally.
Yeah. And that brings us to another point. You asked what are some of the challenges. The second one, which is probably the biggest one, is culture difference.
Right.
Some people call it culture shock. Some people call it culture difference. But I mean, for me, it hasn't been that big of a deal dealing with, because I live overseas, so I already understand the difference in cultures that may clash, good or bad, with U.S. culture. There's a thing when you go overseas where us Americans, we know how it is. Like, we're very punctual. It's, if you say you're going to do something, you be there.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily mean that folks overseas aren't reliable. It's just a difference in culture. There's more of that kind of putting family, health, and quality of life before work. Whereas here in the United States, we're more work before and whatnot. And so I wouldn't call it an obstacle. It's just a getting used to of things. It doesn't really bother me most days, but some days it bothers. I think the big thing that makes it an obstacle, which is just part of business, is the client has to be kind of kept out of that. Our clients, which are all U.S. based clients, they have to be kind of, it has to be, they don't really, to put it bluntly, it's not their problem, the cultural preferences of the rest of the non-American world.
Right.
And so that's probably the only challenge I could say that is an ongoing thing, of just kind of having to remind my staff, hey, we're dealing with American customers and we have to cater to their American preferences, to their American expectations.
And so how have you been successful with that?
Pretty successful. I mean, the good news is, for example, my co-host, and this is a shameless plug for her, she actually has a degree, which she got in Pakistan, but she went to an American Institute for Business in Pakistan. So she understands how we roll, to put it bluntly. But I've had some other folks that have worked with me that don't have a degree from an Americanized institute in another part of the world, and I have to kind of tell them, hey, this is how we do things stateside. Like, I don't make the rules. It's just the way we expect things done in the U.S. Like, you got to get with it, or it may not work out. Yeah. And most of them conform, to put it nicely. They understand that they have to, when they're at work, they have to do it that way, and they have to present it a certain way. So
it's kind of similar to, different businesses, different large companies, and the culture within that company.
Yep.
You either adapt, or you decide, maybe this isn't really a good fit for me. And I'm just thinking right now with Twitter.
That is a great example.
Because it is, everywhere, where there is a certain culture and a certain belief system. And with Elon Musk now, he wants to make it more open.
Yep.
And not so slanted in the views. So some people don't support that, and so they've had to they decided to look on their own for other opportunities.
Yeah.
Of course, there were some people that were let go, but you're seeing that a lot now with Google, with Meta, Facebook, Amazon. So it's not just Twitter, although they're the ones that get the biggest slam for it. But yeah, so it's with these changing times, you have to learn to adapt. And then also when it comes to corporate culture, business culture,
Yeah.
you have to figure out what that is and how you're going to work with that and support it.
Yeah. I want to add something to what you said because that's very true. The Twitter thing, while I know that there's varying opinions, some people that agree with it, some people that disagree, I like how what he did, regardless of subject, he called for a vote. And the reason I like that is because instead of him just up and decide, I'm going to make XYZ decision, he decided, let's see what the majority people think.
Yeah.
And one of the things that has...
Let's see what my customers think.
Exactly. You just nailed exactly what I wanted to say. Because one of the things that I have found has been really successful for our business over the years is when I first started this company, 15 odd years ago, I always start off young in the mindset of this is what I want to do with the company. This is what I want the company to be. But as I matured in the company and matured in business, I learned if you really want the business to be successful, you have to collect data, find out what your customers or your viewers or whoever it is that's going to buy your widget is.
Yeah.
But find out what they want and just give that to them.
Yeah.
So just give the majority what they want and you really kind of can't fail.
So and I know we've discussed this before, but I think it's really interesting to pick up your whole life and then move to another country and start a business. And I know you wanted more work-life balance.
Yep.
And Costa Rica allows you to do that. So, I mean, what is entailed with moving a business overseas?
So, and I guess now the term is digital nomad.
Yeah, because a lot of people can move anywhere now,
Yeah.
depending on who they work for, if it's a remote job.
Yep. I would say the most essential things for, we'll say, working abroad, or being a digital nomad is, number one, you've got to have a business that can kind of cater to anybody in different parts of whatever region you're serving to. In this particular scenario, the United States, because all of our customers are mostly U.S. based. So you've got to have a business that is mobile. Like it can't be a mom and pop shop per se that's like a physical brick and mortar.
Right.
Like stuck to the ground. It's got to be something that, whether it's an online retail store or a online fitness training courses, or maybe like actual online courses, because that's a big thing nowadays. It's got to be something that can be easily accessible from the internet and from a computer. I think the other thing too is you've got to also be somebody who's good at working from home.
Yes.
Because
some people are not.
Yeah.
They want that interaction with different people.
Yeah. A lot of people, it can be learned, but I mean, my wife would tell you, because we both work from home for almost 20 something years, it's a discipline to it.
Yes.
Like you even though you're home, you have to be in the mindset that you're not, like you're in a call center and you can't be bothered. So I think the essentials to better answer your question is a business that's mobile, a business that caters to multiple cities, states, or markets, so that you don't end up abroad and then say something happened in your chosen city, and then you're out of business. You've got to have some sort of resiliency, some sort of redundancy, and then you've got to have just like access to the internet, access to good internet, and access to good resources still. Good phone and internet.
So what made you pick Costa Rica?
Oh man, how much
So
time?
I do want to say this.
How much time do you have?
Because Prince called me yesterday, and you were still in Costa Rica, but you were asking what the temperature was because you're used to 80 degrees and sunny. And I said, well, it's like 58 today. I said, it feels really good. He's like, oh my God, I need to get a coat because I don't have a coat. So you were, he's staying at a hotel. There was a Walmart, of course he doesn't have a car. There was a Walmart near the hotel. He went and got a winter coat and a jacket so you could survive the Virginia weather.
Virginia frigid outback cold. So to correct you there, you said exactly what you said on the phone was, well, it's actually warmer today. It's supposed to be in the 50s. And I said, Heather, you do realize like warm for where I live is like 87?
I know.
Year round. So, it. Wait, what was your question?
Oh,
again?
my
I'm
question
sorry.
was, what made you pick Costa Rica as
Oh, man.
as a place to move your family and business?
So that comes back to culture, and I think a lot of people, you know what? Now that you asked that question, I think a lot of folks watching will appreciate this. Since the Great Resignation, all that stuff. The same way that I think a lot of people felt with the Great Resignation, like we're overworked. We're getting more work out of life than life out of life.
Yeah.
There's more work and less quality of life. Is how I think a lot of people felt about the Great Resignation. The ones who resigned with good reason. That was some of it, and so I guess you could say we were kind of ahead of the curve because we had decided back in 2012. My wife and I felt like, yeah, we're both successful entrepreneurs. We're both doing okay, but we're just working to no end. And so we tried to figure out where's somewhere where we can go. We felt like our culture, and I don't say this to shame American culture because I'll be the first to say I am daggone proud to be an American. I'm the first to tell anybody I am absolutely proud to have been born in this country. But I felt like our culture from the work side was so focused on work. You just work, and that's it. And so we wondered where's somewhere where we can still go and work hard on our businesses, but the culture kind of forces you in just the way everything moves around you in your environment to put more focus on life and the quality of life and just enjoying the little things, the little moments. So the other thing too is, back to what you said about the weather, I hate cold weather. So I really wanted to go somewhere where like there's no snow and I could just wear a t-shirt like this all day. So yeah, a lot of it too was cost of living. Cost of living in Costa Rica is a lot lower than what we're used to here, so your money goes a lot further if you're making U.S. dollars. And then the other thing too is why Costa Rica, to sum it up, it is hailed as having one of the best medical systems and one of the most stable economies in all of Central and South America. So
good to know for anybody out there looking to
Yep.
move. And it was so funny because you had Uber over here. And then the Uber driver, of course, you were sharing where you're from, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I want to move to Costa Rica." So you said that you have like people ask you questions all the time.
All the time. You know that other box on Facebook that nobody checks, that other folder in Facebook Messenger? I probably have like 1,000 messages there that are unanswered. And it's not that I don't want to answer them. I answer some, I pick and choose, but I just can't answer them all. And it's nothing but hundreds and hundreds of people that somehow found me on Facebook through a forum or something and saw I live there. And they're like, "Hey, how did you do that? Can I pick your brain? Can I ask you questions?"
So, as a leader in your business, what is you think the most important thing in that role that people should be aware of or should be thinking about?
So let's talk about the staff part.
Yeah, because we've talked about that.
We've talked about this.
Yeah.
I've learned that for the average worker, and I don't even think this applies to just my business. I think this applies to a lot of businesses. For the average worker, I learned and realized that they're not the CEO of my company. They're not the founder of the company. So no matter how much I want to will it in my mind, it is impossible for me to get them to care about the company as much as I do.
Very, very true.
So I found that you have to really reward the folks that work with you and really let them know that you value them and place them in a position where they see the importance of their role in the company and value their role, and it goes a long way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. It like, for example, like my co-host, I'm not afraid to admit, live on camera, I pay her really well for where she lives in Pakistan. I always joke with her in our team meetings. I have bi-weekly team meetings with all of my staff individually. And let's talk about that for a second. I don't, it's usually a training, but at the very end of it, I ask them, let's take work off the table. let's take business off the table. How are you?
Yeah.
How are you for what you're willing to share with me, that you're willing to share personally, because they don't have to share anything they don't want to share. How are you?
Yeah.
How are you doing financially? How is your family? Is there anything going on that I need to know about personally that you'd like to share that I can help with? Because I found if the people that you work with aren't successful, or what they consider successful in their mind, you're not successful. Or as the saying goes, you're only as successful as the people around you. And so I pride myself on paying the people that work with me really well, typically much better than what the average is in their locale or region.
In their country, yeah.
And just knowing that they're okay. You're going to laugh when I say this, but one thing that I do for all of my staff overseas is I pay them a little extra with their paycheck every single month so that they can go get a massage. It's literally for them to go to the spa of their choosing in their region or country. And some of them, when I first introduced that, they were like, wow. I was like, because it goes beyond just coming to work every day and money. You have to spiritually, physically, and emotionally be well to do well at work. I also tell them,
so maybe as like a thank you, or maybe we need to get something and working out some kind of deal where you like pay for my massage.
You know what? After having me on the show, maybe I'll treat you to a massage to the spa of your choosing. But I always tell them that I'll always ask my staff. Sometime I'll say, hey, you do pretty well here. You can spend your money on whatever you want. You're a grown adult. I can't tell you what to do with it, but like I tell them, I'm like, just make sure you're putting something away so that you have something, so that you're building something. It can't just be about paying bills. You got to be building something with whatever it is you're doing with your time.
Yeah.
So I'm really big about making sure that what they do at this company, it's enhancing their life. It's not just coming to work to come to work.
I think that is amazing that you are intentional about making sure that they get what they need to do at work, but they're also being fulfilled from a family perspective or life perspective. If they don't have family there. So I think that's amazing that you are conscious enough to realize that that's an important thing to do. Yeah,
I learned that when somebody's at work, if they're worried about themselves, meaning if they've got legitimate worries, health problems, oh, I can't pay the rent, or oh, I've got this overdue credit card that I'm gonna get my card taken away or something if I don't get this paid. If they have things that they're truly worried about when they come to work, they're not focused on work.
And that's just working in other countries.
Yeah.
Think about what's happening here in the States with the inflation, the high cost of food, of gasoline, of medical cost. Oh my gosh. I mean, we just got our renewal last month for this coming year, and it has gone up like 800%.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So people, depending on what their income level is, or if they're retirees, I mean, just think about they're having to go out and get a part-time job so they can choose, yes, I want food, or I want to get my medicine. It's just crazy. And people should not have to worry about that. They've worked hard, or they're working hard now.
I know it's a big ask, and I mean, I'm a CEO, but I'm no CEO of like a giant company like Walmart or Goldman Sachs or anything like that. But so I know what I'm asking may be pie in the sky or a big ask, but I always wondered, and I've shared this with my staff openly. I always wondered, what would the corporate world be like worldwide if CEOs and companies realized how much better would our staff perform if when they came to work up here, they were really at work.
And for those of you on the radio and you're not seeing this, he's actually pointing to his head.
Yeah. It's like if in their mind they were really at work and not on, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay for that medical bill? How am I going to pay the mortgage when I'm only making minimum wage or something like that? Like, I've seen firsthand just how productive and awesome staff can be when they come to work and they don't have a care at all in their mind except to to serve the customer.
Right.
I know from personal experience, because I wasn't always well off or okay with the company. When you can't take care of home, you really truly can't serve. You really truly can't serve others if you can't take care of yourself.
And I totally agree with you there.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to recognize where there is something that needs to be focused on internally.
Yeah.
And get that fixed, get help if needed.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be distracted.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get the best out of them.
Yeah.
And if you've got great people who've been working with you for a long time, they're there because they respect you, they like working for you, because honestly, they would have found another job.
True. That's very true.
So recognizing that. So how do people get in touch with you, Prince?
Well, I guess for the people that are listening, it would be my actual email address. Oh gosh, it's so long. Well, actually, you know what? Easier one. For those of you who want to find me, if you go to YouTube and you go to the YouTube search bar and just type in Rich, like rich person, just like it sounds, Rich Technology Group, you'll pull up our channel, and if you click on any of the videos, all of our information is below those videos. And you can see what we do. You can see the educational videos and whatnot that we offer for folks looking for communications and whatnot.
So also, if your business is looking for a phone system and you want to get a fair and honest review of what's best for your business, not what's best for the company, then check out Prince on YouTube. And you do have a website as well.
Do have a website. That's www.richtechnologygroup.com.
Cool. So in the last few seconds here, what would you like to say to the listeners?
I'd like to say to you, thank you so much for having me on the show, having me on here to share my experience and answer your questions. And for the listeners, just thanks for listening. And I guess my message to anybody out there who's in leadership or who is a CEO or HR or somebody in a position of power and influence over employees or staff in a company, I would encourage you to really understand that they can best serve your customers if they themselves are taken care of. And just encourage you to really embrace the idea of making sure that your staff and your employees are okay. Because if they're okay, they can serve others because their needs are met. And as I always say, you're only ever as successful as your team is. So
very, very true. Very true. And that's a great closing line.
Thank you.
So I'm excited that you were able to come to the States during the holiday time and can stop by the studio and talk with me today. And this is, you'll hear this later on my LinkedIn channel as well, and YouTube, as well as listen Monday morning at 5:30 a.m. on ESPN 106.1, and you can get this as well. So that's going to do it for us today. Thank you for listening to Talking Leadership with the Leadership Doc, and that is me, Dr. Heather Williamson. And until next time, have a great week. Bye.
In this video, these leadership tips and strategies are sponsored by my company, Transformation Group. And in my company, I work with leaders just like you through individual leadership coaching sessions. And in these 1-hour sessions, we talk about strategies to help you develop the skills to overcome performance challenges. Whether that involves learning how to hold your employees accountable, delegating and empowering employees more effectively, spending time on tasks that really matter to your business, or communicating expectations consistently, or even better, lowering your stress. If this sounds like something you might be interested in, then there's an email address below in the description box of this video. So send me an email and we can then discuss if I'm the right fit for you. Until the next video, have a great day.